Becky was the guest on something called A Touch More. I know this sounds like a show that's exclusive to OnlyFans, but A Touch More is a podcast hosted by the Sue Bird and the inspiration of prepubescent boys, Meg Rapinoe. They were talking to Rebecca Lobo about the unreasonable demands made by WNBA.
Rebecca Lobo, one of the original WNBA players from 1997, and now an ESPN analyst, recently made a statement that should alarm every player in the league. According to her, WNBA players are rapidly losing fan support amid ongoing CBA negotiations. What makes her comment particularly striking is where she said it. On a podcast hosted by WNBA legends,
Criticized WNBA players for their inability of maintaining support from the fan base. You had the fan support. All you had to do was shut the hell up. Instead, you displayed your unbelievable entitlement by calling million-dollar annual salaries a slap in the face. When I played in this dump, we were playing for prizes, free scooters, tricycles, just for men, and you have the audacity to complain about receiving $1 million you haven't earned?
Rebecca Lobo is openly criticizing current WNBA players for their approach to the CBA negotiations. She claims they have fan support, and all they needed to do was stay quiet. Instead, she says, they display what she calls unbelievable entitlement, labeling million-dollar salaries as a slap in the face. Keep in mind, this perspective comes from someone who played in the late 90s for prizes and free scooters. But Lobo's criticism goes beyond mere salary complaints. It highlights a much larger issue, revealing a fundamental shift in the power dynamics between the league and its players.
Of orchestrated combat. It was a seminal moment for a number of reasons. This contract, it shaped the future of the business, but it also changed the mindset. It changed the mentality of Vince McMahon. With Bret Hart, it was one of the first times that a star talent had more leverage than the company. It was the first time that Vince McMahon felt powerless in negotiations. He made a promise to himself to never be put in that situation again. He would never allow one of the employees to have...
The Bret Hart comparison is more relevant than it first appears. In the late 90s, Vince McMahon signed Hart to a groundbreaking WWF contract worth millions, unprecedented money at the time. But the bigger story was a shift in power. For the first time, a talent had more leverage than the company itself. McMahon felt powerless and vowed never again to let an employee overshadow the brand. Today, Kathy Engelberg is facing a strikingly similar situation in the WNBA. For the first time in league history, players believe they hold real power. They think Caitlin Clark's ratings boost and leagues like Unrivaled give them leverage. But this perception may be completely detached from reality. Just as McMahon acted decisively in 1997, Engelberg is taking steps to ensure the league itself remains in control.
At Sports Media Watch, WNBA pushing earlier start and later finish to the pretend basketball season. When I initially saw this headline the other day, I was confused. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't remember anyone asking for more pretend basketball. I don't remember seeing this insatiable demand, this unquenchable desire for more women's basketball. Matter of fact, if you look at ratings and attendance for Unrivaled, or the fact that absolutely no one is talking about women's college basketball, or the fact that the WNBA Finals struggled to sell tickets with tickets going for less.
This is the ultimate power play. The WNBA is proposing to expand the regular season from 44 games to 54, an extra 10 games. Training camp would start in March, and the finals wouldn't conclude until November. On the surface, it looks like a move to boost revenue. More games mean more ticket sales, more broadcast slots, and more sponsorship opportunities. But the real story lies in control. Under the schedule, players would have no break between the Unrivaled season and WNBA training camp. essentially forcing them to play year-round with no opportunity to compete overseas. The league already enforces prioritization rules that penalize players who miss training camp to play elsewhere. With this new calendar, athletes face an impossible choice: either play in the WNBA or participate in secondary leagues like Unrivaled, but they can no longer do both.
Games to a maximum of 54 games. This would give WNBA players 10 more opportunities to prove they can't sell tickets. But I don't think this is about money. Or in the case of the WNBA, I don't think this is about increasing the amount of the money that they are losing. This schedule is about power. It's about control, leverage. The league wants training camp to start in March, with the WNBA Finals, also known as the Chase for the Platinum Pooper, concluding in November.
This is a masterful strategy by Kathy Engelbert. She isn't negotiating. She's sending a clear message about who holds the real power. For years, WNBA players have been living under a delusion, believing they're on the same level as NBA stars and even bigger than the league itself. In reality, the employees are not more powerful than the employer. WNBA players are essentially entry-level workers, a bonus when the league is thriving but not essential. When budgets tighten, entry-level staff are the first to be cut, not out of cruelty, but because the company can survive without them. This is a reality check the players are about to face.
Now, of course, Unrivaled is already doing a phenomenal job of putting themselves out of business, but with this new schedule, overpaid players in Unrivaled, they would have no break between the Unrivaled season and the WNBA season. This proposal, it essentially forces WNBA players into making a choice. Due to prioritization, the WNBA penalizes players who don't show up to training camp because they're competing in another league.
Now, think about what would happen if WNBA players went on strike right now. The harsh reality is that fans wouldn't care. Outside of the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, WNBA viewership is minimal. NBA owners wouldn't care either, since this league loses money year after year. In fact, they might actually save money if players walked out. That's not leverage. It's the exact opposite. Compare that to the NBA. If NBA players threatened to strike, the league would be in full-blown crisis mode. Billions in revenue would vanish. Broadcast partners would demand refunds, and sponsors would pull out. NBA owners would be forced to give players nearly anything to prevent a shutdown. In the WNBA, however,
employees think they are more powerful than the employer, when the reality is, WNBA players are the equivalent of entry-level employees, entry-level workers. They're a bonus. Entry-level workers are hired when the company is thriving to assist those who are actually generating the revenue. But when times get tough, when management slashes the budget, the entry-level workers, they are the
illusion of leverage is what makes the situation so fascinating. WNBA players genuinely believe they hold power right now. Attendance has risen from almost nothing to slightly less than something, and they interpret that as a mandate. Ratings jumped because one player, Caitlin Clark, became a cultural phenomenon, leading many to assume they deserve NBA-level salaries. Leagues like Unrivaled and overseas organizations are offering contracts, giving players the impression they have options. But all of that is smoke. None of it translates to real negotiating power when an employer is subsidizing your entire existence.
I have told you guys from the beginning, this leverage that WNBA players think they have, this leverage is an illusion. The increased ratings, attendance going from nothing to almost nothing, secondary dumps like Unrivaled and Project B, this gave WNBA players the illusion of leverage. If you took this same situation and you applied it to the NBA, the league would be in trouble. NBA players would get whatever the hell they wanted, but with the WNBA, the same leverage does not apply because this league isn't a necessity. It's a bonus. It's a nice tax write-off for the NBA. But if it goes away, they'll just find another way to ease their tax burden. The way it looks right now, if WNBA players want their $1 million annual contracts, if they want to be paid what they deserve, they're going to have to make some concessions. And the main concession seems to be unrivaled.
Rebecca Lobo isn't holding back. WNBA players are mishandling their leverage. Fans barely exist outside of Caitlin Clark, and the league loses money every year. So strikes or threats carry zero weight. Yet players act entitled, comparing $1 million salaries to the NBA, ignoring that they're subsidized by a more successful league. Kathy Engelbert's strategy is simple but brutal. Expand the season from 44 to 54 games, running March through November. This leaves no off-season for unrivaled or overseas play, forcing players to choose between domestic basketball or supplemental income. She's making sure no alternative exists that could give players negotiating power, exactly like Vince McMahon did when Bret Hart once held more leverage than WWF. The truth is harsh. WNBA players aren't more powerful than the league. They're entry-level employees in a subsidized operation. The Caitlin Clark bump was one season, a handful of games, and one player, not a mandate. By demanding everything at once, players risk goodwill, credibility, and leverage.